Hello and welcome to the Kayfabe Today podcast. As you can tell, I'm not Ben. Ben isn't here because he has matrimonial sickness, unfortunately. I'm Elliot, and I'm joined by Montreal's favourite broski, Eric. How's it going?
I'm doing pretty good, Elliot. How are you?
I'm good. We had some technical difficulties, but we're attempting to navigate those now and ploughing straight ahead because there's some hot takes that need to be sent out into the ether. And
And we're not going to let Google censor us. But before we get into it, I just want to send a shout out to my broski, Handsome Dan, and his podcast, The Final Say, that you can find at WLWstudios.com. He kind of sparked the broski into entertaining the masses. So if you don't like me, you can blame Dan. So yeah, go check out his podcast. It's a great time. It's the best part of Lucha Underground is his podcast. He does a weekly Lucha Underground recap show with Jay Baca, who's another good broski. So go give them a listen after you're done here.
he's got a lot to answer for you anyway.
He does. Thanks, Dan.
He released you into the wild.
He did.
Like a dark Charizard.
Oh, no. You did not just make a fucking Pokemon reference on the show, Elliot.
I'm like
triggered.
Maro. I'm like Maro Ronaldo. I've got my finger on the pulse with those
Yeah,
pop references.
I got a bone to pick with you because I was a big fan of Moro Ronaldo, and then you're like, yeah, he's really great with those timely references, and now that's the only thing I hear, and I'm very, very upset.
It's because he's not a very good commentator. Anyway, we have some huge news. Actually, some that broke yesterday, and a story that broke a matter of hours ago, maybe an hour ago.
Yeah, while we were attempting this the first time.
Well, yes, while we were attempting it the first time. Paige and Alberto Del Rio, obviously, they have a well-publicized relationship. Both got suspended for violating the wellness policy yesterday. It was announced, and today, just 1 hour ago, Eva Marie also has violated the wellness policy, so she too has been suspended. What is the initial reaction to this?
Geez, I know you're broken up over Eva Marie. I think I'm holding out. I really hope this is a work and WWE is just trolling everybody. I don't think so, but what a perfect way to keep her from wrestling. You know, just hit her with a fake wellness policy violation, and then they're just like, well, you can't wrestle. And then she just disappears. I guess that would be counterproductive. But yeah, I mean, like, as I've said before on the podcast, I don't have any sympathy for any of the parties involved. You know, if you're doing your quote-unquote dream job and you're getting well paid to do it, you're a complete idiot to put that in jeopardy. So, I mean, like, we don't know what the substances were. We don't know the situation revolving around everything. So, I mean, without being too critical, you know, it sucks, but, you know, bright side, there's at least 30 more days without Paige. So, silver lining.
Yeah, the interesting thing with Paige is that she was tagged in the post. None of the others were tagged in the Twitter posts. So I'm assuming that they weren't able to contact her because she was partying too hard on her birthday. So they had to send her a message and let her know on Twitter. So
which is super professional. I mean, at least hit her up in the DMs. Come on now, guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing with Paige and Del Rio, I mean, maybe things have changed a bit now with Eva Marie being announced as violating the wellness policy also. I've seen some people who've known about this last night. So it's with the random testing, it's odd that Del Rio and Paige were busted at the same time. It seemed like there was something there, but it also now seems that Eva Marie was also busted at the same time. So
well, maybe they do it in batches. You know, like they'll take like maybe let's say 15 to 20 superstars at once, test them all at once, and then there's another batch, or I don't know. You know, it's supposed to be random testing, right? How random it actually is, we don't know. But yeah, it is interesting that they got suspended. You know, they're together and they got suspended at the same time. Could it be that the internet is right and Del Rio is a bad influence on Paige? Which, first of all, It just makes me laugh that all these people like are these. I'm sorry, I can't be nice. These idiots are like, "Oh, Del Rio, he forced Paige. It's his fault." No, Paige is a grown ass woman. She knows what the rules are in the WWE. If she didn't want to do something, she wouldn't have done it. It's not Del Rio's fault. You're all a bunch of morons.
No, certainly not. Yeah, you can't blame Del Rio for this. It's
No, of course not. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously Eva Marie was on the card for SummerSlam. Paige and Del Rio not on the card for SummerSlam. I think we should probably just dive right into NXT.
Yeah, we won't spend too much time on this since we don't know too much. It would be just speculating. So let's get on to some stuff that we know is actually going to happen.
I mean, in recent years, WWE have sort of made a concerted effort to rebrand SummerSlam as the WrestleMania of the summer. And like WrestleMania, we have the NXT show on the same weekend, and then the big 6-hour extravaganza the following evening. First up on this card, we've got Austin Aries versus No Way Jose. It's going to be interesting to see how No Way Jose goes here, because his character has developed over the past sort of few weeks after he was attacked by Austin Aries. He's shown some babyface fire, which is a good development to his character after he was presented as just this happy-go-lucky type guy. I don't think he's going to pick up the win here. But it was good. It will be interesting to see if that sort of aggressiveness that he brought to his promos will translate into an aggressiveness in this match against Austin Aries. And I think that it's a good Austin Aries. I mean, he's decent. I wouldn't say that I was a fan of his, but he should be able to have a good match here.
Yeah, I think it should be a pretty interesting match. Now, granted, I haven't seen much out of. I mean, I'm familiar with Austin Aries, so. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure how this one will go, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'm not too familiar with his opponent. But if he has had this aggressive streak recently in his promos, it would be nice to see that translate to a more aggressive style in the ring, right? Because if you're getting worked up in real life, you're going to be more aggressive if things come to blows, right? So it'd be nice to see that his words kind of match with his actions in the ring. So
especially when you come in face to face with the guy who inspired that.
Yeah, exactly.
Aggression. Yeah. So have you got Austin Aries?
Yeah, most likely. But I mean, yeah, Austin Aries.
Yeah, Bobby Roode versus Andrade Cien Almas. Obviously, Andrade Cien Almas, formerly La Sombra in CMLL, came in with quite a reputation as a guy that can have really standout matches. He hasn't been allowed to do that yet, but there has been a resistance partly from Full Sail in really taking to him. That's probably due to the fact that he was engaged in a sort of mini feud with Ty Dillinger, and Ty Dillinger is one of Full Sail's favourites, and that didn't go down too well. Bobby Roode making his debut here. Yeah, I think that with the sort of viral sensation that is the glorious vines and videos that are out there with Gargano and Ciampa, I think that there's going to be a resistance here for once more towards Andrade Cien Almas.
Yeah, I mean, usually when something takes off the way his Bobby Roode's theme song is taken off, it turns people into fans regardless of what the kind of booking is behind the actual performer. So if they're trying to build Bobby Roode as a heel, I think that's going to fail, because I don't personally understand why people are so into the theme song.
Sounds like a Bosnian Eurovision song contest entry, man. It's brilliant. It's great. I love it.
Well, to be honest, I haven't seen Bobby Roode on NXT television yet, so maybe there is, like, you need that whole package, the audio with the visual. So I'm gonna reserve my final judgment till I actually watch Takeover to see, to really soak in the entrance and see how well, how entertaining it actually is. But if like the indication of the internet is anything, I'm missing out on something here. So I'm anxious to see it in all of its glory. See what I did there?
I did.
That's why you guys pay me the big bucks there at Kayfabe Today for, for witty banter like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't particularly see the purpose of Bobby Roode in NXT other than him being an experienced guy that can hopefully shoot a few guys down there. I don't particularly see him as a upper card guy challenging for the title, but I don't know if people get behind him due to this due to the viral sensation. Yeah, it could be a major player in NXT.
I
Um,
agree. I
I
mean,
think,
is he a TNA guy? Like, was he created by TNA?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I could actually see him because I remember when I gave TNA a chance all those years ago during the Aces and Eights nonsense. Bobby Roode stood out to me as someone I would like to see in the WWE. So I'm happy that he's here, and I'm looking forward to see what goes on with him. To see if he makes not if he just stays in NXT to help the younger guys, or if he actually progresses to the main roster. So it'll be interesting to see how things go in that respect.
yeah. What's the prediction?
I'm going to go with Bobby Roode.
I'm going to go for Andrade Cien Almas, and he's
Oh,
going to get booed out of the arena because people are going to really get behind Bobby Roode. Onto the NXT Tag Team Championship match, we have The Revival versus Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. For me, I think this is the potential. I mean, there's a few matches on this card that has the potential to be the match of the SummerSlam weekend, but for me, this is the one that immediately stands out in
yeah,
that category.
I'm right there with you. I mean, the Revival can have a good match with pretty much anybody on the roster, and I don't think this match isn't gonna disappoint because all four guys involved in the match are known for having really solid matches. So I think this is, like you said, I think this has the potential to steal the entire weekend. And if you don't even have to think that back at the last takeover, the Revival versus the American Alpha was incredible. It was one of my favorite matches of the year so far. And I think that this has just as much potential to be up there, maybe even be better than
Yeah,
the Revival against the Alphas.
I would definitely go along with that. I think that Gargano and Ciampa are coming into this hot really after the match that they had in the Cruiserweight Classic. They had one of the best matches of the tournament so far.
And that's saying,
So, yeah, I mean, it's been a great tournament. There's been the match quality is only getting better as well, and it's going to continue to get better going into the later rounds. But that was one of the standout matches from the first round. I think as a lukewarm take, a lot of people seem to be sort of suggesting this as well. I think that the Revival win, and I think Ciampa turns on Gargano, and it's going to be horrible. But I think that long term, now that Ciampa and Gargano are both signed full time for NXT, it sort of makes sense.
yeah, and I think it'll be a fantastic feud. Like it'll just elevate both guys. I mean, they work so well together, and we've already seen that. So it's established already that they can have really solid matches together. So why not? Like, why not have a feud between the two?
It seems like a logical place to start now that they're both signed. They've had the tag team run has been good so far. It's been really good. It's been one of the most entertaining parts of NXT on a weekly basis, and it just seems like a natural progression. Gives both guys something to do. Because really, like if you look at the Revival, or you look at a team like American Alpha, or even Enzo and Cass, the Ascension, these teams, the Usos, they're better together as a team. But I mean, Gargano and Ciampa coming into NXT have got reputations of being two of the top independent workers in the world as singles guys. So I mean, you're going to want to put them as singles guys eventually, aren't you? So.
Yeah, and what better way than to instantly have an easy storyline that everybody can understand than to have one turn on the other, and there you go. You're off to the races. It's really simple, you know. So because it's happening in NXT, I have faith that they can actually pull it off, right? I mean, they don't usually tend to complicate things too much in their storylines. So it's just as simple of you turned your back on me. Let's settle this in the ring. And with those two guys, you really can't go wrong. So it's
Yeah.
going to be a great way to kind of maybe not introduce, but reintroduce them to like the NXT and the WWE crowd. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens there. And I'm almost to the point now where if it doesn't happen, where if one doesn't turn on the other, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. So you said lukewarm, but I think that's a pretty hot take there, boy. I think it's a pretty hot take there, Elliot.
Thank you.
Don't underestimate your takes.
What's who are you going for then?
Geez, it's like picking your favorite child. I'm going to go with the Revival just because I like their kind of old school ass kicker vibe. So I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, I would definitely go for them. Next up is champion defending against Bayley, who in a rematch from the NXT Dallas show in April earlier this year. I thought they had a good match last time. I thought it was really good. Obviously, there was a lot of there's some great matches on that Dallas show in the tag team and the Nakamura Zayn match. But it was a good match. What's your take on this?
This is a really interesting story because you have Asuka, who's like legitimately an ass kicker, and then you kind of have Bayley, who is like super sweet girl next door type of gimmick, right? Like, and you got Bayley, who has been viewed by most, rightfully so, as the top female in the NXT division, right? And you have her going against Asuka, and it's almost like Bayley's the underdog here, which is a really interesting story to tell because she's been seen as the top woman in the division for so long. But at the same time, like Asuka could legitimately kick anybody's ass, right? So it's interesting to see kind of like that role reversal where Asuka's now on top and Bayley's the underdog. I mean, I love a good underdog story, right? So
yeah, it's one of the staples of pro wrestling history.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just really, really, I think it's smart booking. I personally think they should keep the title on Asuka because Bayley doesn't need that title. Although they have been pushing if Bayley wins, she'll be the only woman to have won the women's championship twice. So there's that could come into play. But I honestly think that keeping the belt on Asuka is the right move to go because Bayley is going to debut sooner rather than later. I mean, one would think. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this too.
Yeah, for me, like for Asuka, she's one of my favorite wrestlers in the entire WWE, and I think that with the whole women's revolution, it was about athleticism and look at these girls, they can do all this athletic stuff, and sure, it was contrived, but ultimately the girls were having great matches and they were athletic, sure, but for Asuka, she seems like the progression of that that discourse around the women's revolution. But she's not only a girl who is athletic, but she's a girl that's going to kick your head in and like she works like obviously a very Japanese style, and it makes a great addition to the division to have somebody who is such a stark contrast to a lot of the women in that division.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's got that level of toughness that you don't usually associate with the women's division. So she instantly stands out. Like, I would not want to piss her off. Like, if I saw her in a bar and I was like, hey, baby, and she's like, I'm not interested, I would just leave. No persistence here. You got it? No problem. Please don't kill me. So, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how this kind of plays out.
Yeah, that I'm going with Asuka as well. I think that Bayley's probably going to be up to the main roster. Shortly after SummerSlam. For the main event, it is Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Joe he defeated Balor at the last takeover. can't remember what that was called. Anyway, he beat him at the last takeover for the championship. Has been champion. No, it wasn't at the last takeover, was it? It was at that random house show, and then he beat.
And then he beat him again to retain.
Yeah, in the cage match.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. But Nakamura is coming into this match. He hasn't yet to lose in NXT, and he's probably the hottest star that they've got down there at the moment. I think they put the title on Nakamura here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Joe has had his time with the title. And I like Joe, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, I think he's had his time with the
Joe. Joe's great.
Yeah, Joe's awesome. I mean, there's not too many independent guys that I really track because WWE takes up so much of my viewing time. And I do like to do other things besides watch wrestling every once in a while. But Joe is a guy that I followed. Like, even in TNA, I would check out some of his matches because I can't stand to watch the entire product. But I would still check him out. And, I mean, he's just incredible. And I think this match is going to be really, really good, really hard-hitting. And I'm a big fan of, wrestling that looks real. Like the guys really look like they're hitting each other really, really hard. And I think, they're two guys who can do that, right? Yeah. And I think this is going to be a really entertaining. Like, there's so many matches on this NXT card that could just take the entire weekend. Yeah. And it's really, really exciting time to be like a wrestling fan.
I think for me with Nakamura, he in Japan and in NXT as well, Nakamura is a big match performer, and when he can phone it in, he definitely phones it in. And
yeah,
he can get away with doing it because he's very charismatic and he can just pull a few faces and do his signature spots, and it gets over because it's Nakamura. But he's a big match performer, and when it comes to the big matches like the Sami Zayn match, and I mean, even go back further in Japan, like the AJ Styles match, and when he's in a main event, he has blow away matches, and I would expect the same here. I think it's going to be challenging the Revival versus Gargano and Ciampa for best match of the card.
Yeah.
But yeah, this should be a great match. Both going Nakamura. On to SummerSlam. 6 hours.
6 hours. Yeah, are you ready for that?
Ember Moon as well is debuting on NXT against Billie Kay. So yeah, that's Ember Moon's fantastic. So she's probably going to be the next challenger for Asuka down the line. On to SummerSlam. 6 hours. It's going to be.
Get your adult diapers ready.
Yeah. It's too long.
It's way too long. It's like a work shift. Fuck that.
It is like, I mean, if you're doing coverage of it, I mean, it's so long. It's
like, especially since you have to pay attention if you're doing coverage, you have to pay attention. That's why I'm glad I never did pay-per-views. Because like even just a normal pay-per-view, you got the 3 hours plus the pre-show. That's just a long time for me to pay attention. That's why when I wrote reviews, I reviewed SmackDown. 2 hours, in and out, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, I'm gone. 6 hours. I pity whoever's writing up SummerSlam. Good luck to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's 2 hours is really the ideal time for a wrestling show, and
because I feel like at 2 hours, if you're really delivering a really solid show, then you leave people wanting more.
Yeah, that's it.
Whereas 3 hours, like this past week on Raw, I mean, there's a reason why I started my Raw reactions like fake sleeping on my couch, because when I was watching the show, my eyes were closed. I was like, this is just dragging, and it's, like if you're only going to have maybe like 15 or 20 minutes that I was really invested in on Monday Night Raw, on a 3 hour show, those aren't good odds, and that's a lot of time. Like, thank God for Twitter. Thank God for Twitter. Because like if it wasn't for Twitter, I'd be so bored.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the banter on Twitter, it's just that time, isn't it? Yeah, 11 matches in total. It's probably going to be longer than 6 hours as well, because over the past sort of really since WrestleMania, all of the I don't know. Should we call these pay-per-views anymore? I mean,
just to differentiate them, I guess. I mean, they don't really care. They have your $9.99, call them whatever you want.
Yeah, I do.
right?
Yeah, but
I
they've
think it just for the sake of like differentiating them, even though there's really no difference between a pay per view and a Raw anymore.
I'm all about the semantics, broski, when it comes to.
I'm well aware.
Uh, but yeah, it's probably going to overrun as well because the previous ones have been overrunning by half an hour, and it's so
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 like
annoying.
you're
When it
legitimately
gets,
looking at like a very real possibility of having it, a 7 hour show, which is legitimate an hour, like a work shift. Like we're all going to work on Sunday, so don't drink too much on Saturday.
yeah, I mean it got. But when it comes to 5 a.m. and they're still not finished up, and you
Well,
think,
that's the thing. That's especially for you guys overseas. Like I get it at a reasonable time, right? 6 o'clock start time finishes around, but even midnight for a wrestling, like ugh, that's a long time. But like for you guys, I don't understand how any of you stay up. Like I would never stay up that late to watch a pay per view, even though I'm usually up at around 5 o'clock in the morning. But that's neither here or there. But like I feel so bad for you guys. Like if you want to stay up date, you want to see it live. I hope you don't have work tomorrow because
yeah, I mean you
you
do
shit out of luck.
lose a lot if you don't watch it live. I feel
Yeah,
you miss out on the experience, the communal experience of watching it on Twitter and getting everyone's takes. It's completely different, and it's not this. It's not the same.
no,
Uh,
it's not.
it's worth doing, but I mean, not everyone can afford the same amount of time that I can afford. So I mean,
Well,
it is
not
what it is.
everybody has the level of hot takes that you do, Elliot. So they can try to live the Elliot lifestyle, but they'll fail miserably.
Too right, too right.
I'm putting
We'll
you over
dive
big
in.
time this week, brother.
I know, I know. We'll dive in. First up, the first match of a best of seven series between Sheamus and Cesaro. They're battling to determine who is the most dominant big lad. I think if they're given anything around 15 minutes, I think they're capable of having a great match. And I'm not using the word great lightly. I think that they've had very good matches before over the past few weeks. But if they're given that a little bit longer, I think it's going to be. It has the potential to be something special. So, what's your take on this?
Well, it's two guys who can obviously work, right? And they've proven over the past couple of weeks that they do have a very good chemistry. And you got a guy like Cesaro that comes out every single time 100 miles an hour the entire time, and you got a guy like Sheamus who hits really, really hard. It's gonna be a hard hitting affair. It's gonna be intense. I mean, I'm at first I was like, best of seven, that could get, but no, like if you have two guys and you give them the time that they need to be able to perform and tell a story, they're going to knock it out of the park every single time. And even with the time constraints that they have on Raw, I think they've been putting on some of the more entertaining matches that we've been getting in recent weeks.
I mean, they've got a goddamn 6 hour show here now. They've got to give them some extra time.
Yeah, exactly.
Got
Like you said, 15, 20 minutes, I think that's the sweet spot for them. And I think they could turn out something that's, like you said, like a great match. I have total faith in both of those guys.
Yeah, it's
Completely.
really interesting with Sheamus. I feel people are coming on around to him a little bit. I think that has been historically has been perhaps a little bit undervalued by fans, but
I mean,
now people
I on this
getting
podcast have said that I wasn't a fan of Sheamus and that I wanted him to go away like a couple months ago. But now I've warmed up to him because I feel like he is one of the best, not maybe not the best, but the better workers on the roster. And putting him with Cesaro was a really smart move. And this whole kind of like, I'm going to prove that I'm better than you or more dominant, that's like a very simple storyline. It doesn't require any thinking whatsoever. It's really simple. It's to the point. These two are fighting to figure out which one's the best. And when you have
yeah.
storylines that are simple like that, it's usually a good thing. So I'm really looking forward to this. And I'm like, not just this match at SummerSlam, but the whole series and to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I hope that as the series reaches its conclusion, maybe they throw in a couple of different stipulations in there to mix things up a bit.
That's the only thing. Because if it goes 7 straight matches, that could get a little bit tiresome. But if you throw in a couple stipulations here and there, that'll freshen it up. change things up a bit, make it different. So yeah, it has the potential to be a really, really great series. Plus, we don't really see best of sevens that much in WWE. So that in itself, the match, the whole concept in itself is kind of refreshing. So it's I think they're doing a really good job here.
Yeah. Prediction.
First match, I'm going to give it to Sheamus.
Yeah, it makes sense for the heel to win the first
Yeah.
match, especially since he's lost the previous two. So, I mean, it kills a lot of the heat in the series if he loses again here.
Yeah, because technically Cesaro could be like 3-0 already, you know? Like not in this series, but in the overall feud that they've been having, it would be Cesaro 3 and Sheamus nothing. So yeah, I think it's the only way you can really go with this is Sheamus picking up the win.
On to Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Chris Jericho and your boy.
Yes.
The main man.
The best wrestler in the entire world.
Kevin Owens, of course.
like our faithful listeners even had any doubt who I was talking about.
I mean, outside of the homophobia and the reduction of Sasha Banks to a sexual pursuit with some real quite disgusting frat boy locker room chat.
Especially considering she's the women's champion, you know?
Especially considering she's the women's champion. But this feud is rooted in the fact that Chris Jericho prevented Enzo Amore from banging Sasha Banks. I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
I mean...
It's... the cock block that heard around the world, I guess. I don't know.
Let's talk about this homophobia issue. Because, of course, 2 weeks ago, during the back and forth segment, Cass made some homophobic comments in relation to the nature of Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens' relationship. He implied that they were sharing baths together, and that was the only reason why they were friends, because, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, everyone gets the joke. It's low-hanging fruit and it's really abhorrent for the two of the biggest baby faces in the company to be making these comments, especially considering the day after Stephanie McMahon did a talk and she made it clear that WWE over the next coming years are going to be trying to incorporate LGBT storylines into their show. And the writers have undergone, quotes, sensitivity training. And it's for me, like, it's a different situation, but it's kind of comparable to the Divas Revolution, in the sense that it wasn't something that happened naturally. It was something that was incredibly contrived and transparent, and people saw through it for what it was, just an attempt to exploit a hot issue for PR purposes.
Yep, it's what it reeks of, because as someone who has someone in his life who is very involved in the LGBT community, people who, like growing up in a body that you feel isn't yours isn't something that should be exploited for PR. It's a very serious issue. And I mean, people legitimately have real issues with being in a body they feel that isn't theirs. And in a situation like Darren Young, that was completely fine, because that's who he is. It wasn't contrived. It wasn't part of a storyline. I just don't think you should take something that a lot of people struggle with and turn it into a storyline to make your company look like, oh, look how forward thinking we are and look how accepting we are. No, you're exploiting a topic that's a hot button issue right now. And it's just, WWE doesn't have a track record of dealing with these things in a sensitive and a kind of appropriate manner. I mean, you just have to think back to Billy and Chuck. That wasn't exactly a shining beacon of understanding, right? When it was brought out that, oh, we're not actually gay. It's insulting, and it could do more damage than it does good, because you shouldn't exploit the struggles of a certain community so your company looks good. I think they're not like WWE when it comes to these things. They're as subtle as a baseball bat to the face, and it just reeks of PR. It's like a throwback to when Stephanie McMahon said that philanthropy is like the new era of PR or something to that effect. And
philanthropy is the best form of advertisement.
yeah, that's it exactly. Like that is a disgusting that's a disgusting thing to say. And this is coming from the same woman.
Yeah, motivating your sort of your behaviors, isn't it? It's coming from a monetary desire that you want to be able to do it to look good and profit off it eventually. It's like
exactly. And the thing is you shouldn't have someone who isn't involved in the community. And I don't know this for a fact, so I'm just speculating here, but I don't know that there's anybody on the WWE writing staff that really has a full grasp on this issue. Now, I'm not saying that because I have someone in my life that is very active in that community that I know everything and what that I wouldn't be comfortable writing things from that perspective because I haven't lived it. Now, if you have a talent that's already on the roster, or like you have a talent that's coming into the WWE that is already dealing with this type of issue, that I'm a little bit more okay with because it's coming from an authentic place. But if you're just going to slap this, like if you're going to turn like being gay or questioning on your sexuality into a gimmick, then I want no part of it because it's not going to be done tastefully. Because you can't do it tastefully. You're just clearly exploiting someone. It shouldn't be something that someone that hasn't dealt with it should be writing about because it's a very serious topic, especially like in recent years. It's become more to the forefront of, mainstream media and all this. And that's why they're doing it. And I don't think that's coming from the right place. If you want to just because if you wanted to really support the community, you wouldn't make a big deal about it. You would just let it happen. Right? Just like when the Divas Revolution, they only picked up on like the Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte thing after it already happened. It started as an organic thing, and they fucked it up by trying to spin it. And look at us, we're putting women in the forefront of our product. Pat us on the back. We're so good. Like it genuinely, I'm getting a little worked up here because I don't think they're going to come at it from the right place, and I don't think they're coming at it from we really have this issue in our hearts and it's a really important issue to us. I don't believe that for a second. It's PR. And I honestly think, without getting too crazy, without anything actually happening yet, I just think it's kind of a disgusting move.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the roots.
It's not coming from an honest place. It's coming from a place to make them look good. They're trying to get something out of it. They're not just doing it to shed light on an issue. You know what I mean? Like they're not coming. I just think it's kind of disgusting, to be perfectly honest with you.
It is. Anyway,
I'll get off my soapbox now.
Who's going on?
People don't know me for being serious. I'm sorry, I was serious there for a second. I got to make a dick joke. I got to make a dick joke real quick.
These issues need to be addressed. Certainly do. But it's pretty disgusting from such a disconnect between what's actually the content that's going out there and what message they're saying, what issues that they're trying to deal with. It's disgusting.
It's a PR move, nothing more, and it's gross. I hate it.
Who you got?
What were we talking? I got so wrapped up. What match were we talking about?
Enzo and Cass versus Owens and
realistically, I think Enzo and Cass are going to win. But my heart is always with Kevin Owens, so I'm going to go with Kevin Owens and Jericho. Jericho's there too.
Enzo and Cass win here, and it sets into motion a breakup between Owens and Jericho, and gives Owens something meaningful to do as a singles guy, which he should really be using at anyway. I mean, briefly digressing. I mean, what do you make of Sami Zayn being absent from this card after he was in one of the WWE Match of the Year contenders and he sort of vanquished his final?
I realized that a couple of weeks ago that he's got absolutely nothing to do, and I feel like that's a shame because along with Cesaro, I think Sami Zayn is one of the most consistent guys on the roster in terms of match quality. And to not highlight that on your quote-unquote, WrestleMania in the summer, I think it's a missed opportunity. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, on a
Like,
6 hour show as well. Come on, I
yeah,
mean,
exactly. How are you not going to include him? Is he the next one who's going to pop up as a wellness policy violation? Like, I don't know, but like to not include one of your most consistent guys for the past, geez, I don't, pretty much since he debuted on the main roster and even before that in NXT, I think it's a huge oversight and
yeah,
kind of ridiculous. Plus,
yeah,
he's a good Montreal boy, so he should always be included.
yeah. Affirmative action for the Montreal boys.
Yeah, they're trying to keep us down. I think it's because we're French Canadian.
um, Naomi, Carmella, and Becky Lynch versus Eva Marie, Natalia, and Alexa Bliss. Obviously, that match is not going to happen now, so we will skip and move on to the WWE Women's title match between Charlotte and Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
I really think they blew their proverbial load on this one. I mean, I can
Yeah.
understand why they did it so soon, why they did it, wanted to make the first Raw after the brand split a big occasion and sort of establish that, you know, anything can happen. We're going to do title changes on TV. We're not going to necessarily be waiting to do big payoffs at network shows or pay-per-views or whatever. And they had a very, very good match on TV, and I think they're really going to struggle, like Roman Reigns and Rusev, to top that match.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, they did add that little element at the end of their match. Well, no, sorry. On Raw after Charlotte's match where Dana Brooke attacked her from behind, and then it looked like because Sasha Banks was in the figure eight that she going to be 100%. So I think they tried to add a little something, but like you said, I think they blew this way too early. They should have kept the payoff for the pay-per-view. I understand why they didn't, but yeah, I mean, like, does anybody really think Charlotte's gonna end Sasha Banks' reign this early into it? Because I don't see it happening, honestly.
No, it would be a big surprise.
It would be.
It would be arguably a bigger surprise than Sasha Banks beating Charlotte on Raw was.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
WWE Intercontinental Championship match on the blue brand. Apollo Crews versus the champion, The Miz. I think The Miz, I mean, we've discussed this quite often, but he's been one of WWE's standout performers over the past year as the top mid-card heel. He never fails to get a big reaction. And I mean, conversely, Apollo Crews, since arriving on the main roster, is really flattered to deceive. And I mean, even that goes back to NXT's.
Yep.
He
got called up too early.
Yeah, and I think he's struggled so far. But I mean,
like, just this past week on SmackDown, sorry to cut you off there. I just wanted to get this out real quick, see what you thought about it. The go home show for SmackDown before SummerSlam, their build was during the commercial break.
Yeah.
So that should give you every indication on where they are kind of on the pecking order, right? Yeah. I mean, to have your feud develop during a commercial break, ouch. Like, damn. I mean, I don't know if that's an indication of how much faith they have in Apollo Crews, because I can't see it being about The Miz, because he's
The Miz established. He was in the segment beforehand, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. But to have their feud, like the last interaction that they can possibly have before SummerSlam be during the commercial break, like, eesh, ouch.
Yeah, I mean,
you're gonna put it on the pre-show? Like, what the fuck?
I mean, I think to recognize here is that the Miz's speciality is really ensuring that mid-card baby faces are supported well.
Yep.
And he does a great job about that with that. Whoever is against, I think that this probably will be a long-term program. I don't think you achieve anything by putting the title on Apollo Crews here now, who is coming in pretty cold. And
yeah,
I think it would be a reactionary move just to get a title on one of the new guys to sort of push this new era message. I think the payoff would be better served in a few shows' time after they've had a more substantial build. And I don't really
get a few more matches under his belt. Speaking of Apollo Crews, I mean, he hasn't had that many matches. He hasn't had like a run of impressive matches. And, you know, it's like it's been said over and over again, but the guy makes the title. The title doesn't make the guy. So sticking the IC title on him, I think it would be a detriment to the actual title itself because Miz has been doing such a good job with it.
Yeah, it's counterproductive, isn't it? Putting the
Yeah, it's
so soon.
completely counterproductive. And just the way that the build has happened, I'm going to give you my prediction right now. I think it's the Miz is going to retain.
Yeah, I'm in that boat as well. WWE Tag Team title match: Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson versus the New Day, the champions. The build has been complete balls, and it has really tested my patience.
Oh my God, are you taking notes from Vince McMahon?
I've got more. I wrote about this. It's nuts to think that the New Day have been champions for almost a year, but it would be a fallacy to suggest that they are the biggest team in WWE history.
Christ. A standing ovation all the way from Canada, sir. That was beautiful. You should write poetry.
I apologize profusely for that.
Oh, you don't. Own it. That was beautiful. I'm wiping away a tear from my eye as we speak. That touched me so much. Are you wearing a lab coat?
I wish. No. But I do have some pickled eggs right next to me.
See, I can't eat pickled egg. Well, I couldn't eat pickled eggs before this, but now it's guaranteed that I will never touch a pickled egg.
Okay. Oh, man. I mean...
It's been... Like, I've seen a lot of people like this, and I'm just like, not... What bothers me is that Anderson and Gallows haven't really established themselves in that tag division. Like, they've been AJ's lackeys for most of the time that they've been in the WWE, right? Yeah. And their first singles feud, and you turn them into a comedy gimmick when they shouldn't be a comedy gimmick. Not every fucking tag team has to be funny. Right? Like the New Day, they have their niche. That's what they do. They're the fun-loving, crazy baby faces. Now you just got two teams trying to out-joke themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, they came in with a big reputation as well. And I'm for somebody who's watched them extensively in Japan, I don't think that reputation was necessarily founded because I think people hear something like Bullet Club and, they think, oh, these guys are cool. These are super workers. These are some of the best guys in the world. And I think realistically, Doc Gallows, absolutely not. Carl Anderson's very good, but I mean, he's not. And they're two big bastards that should be roughing guys up. And I know they're trying to incorporate that, but the means in which they're doing that, it's like they're making a joke out of it. And
it's just funny how they referenced Gallows as Doc Gallows on the show when that was his name in TNA, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. On this past week, because this past week's Raw, they referred to him as Doc Gallows because of the get it. They're doctors, Elliot. Get it?
Get it? Funny.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of this like comedy nonsense. Like. It reeks of Vince McMahon. Like, that shit reeks of Vince. Like, I could picture him sitting at Gorilla. They said testes, brothers. Like,
that's the reason why I just did the whole spiel about this, because I was looking to pop Vince.
Oh, well, yeah, because he clearly listens. Taking all our ideas. I know he watched my Raw reactions on YouTube because I coined the term Jericho a week before they brought it out on television. I'm still waiting for my check, WWE. I know you're listening.
So I think it's high time that New Day drop the titles. And
I completely agree. The time has come, and I hope Big E isn't there, and that it's Kofi and Xavier Woods that loses, and that Big E comes back and he's pissed off about it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense for them. That seems to be the route that they're heading. I think that
because Elliot, I love the New Day more than anybody else, right? I got 2 versions of each shirt. Okay, well, no, I don't have 2 versions of each shirt, but I love the New Day. But I think they've run their course. They're progressively getting less and less funny as the weeks go on, and I think that they just did their thing. I mean, I don't think they're going to break them up because they just released the Booty-O's cereal. Which, by the way, $12 for a box of fucking cereal? Are you nuts? Are you fucking nuts?
But the price is worth it to make sure that you ain't booting.
Listen, what I'll do is I'll take the Bootios box that I already have. I'll pour in some Lucky Charms. And then, are you ready for this comedic genius? I'm going to open up my fridge, look at my milk, and say, "Don't you dare be sour."
Oh, jeez. I'm surprised they haven't worked that into a skit yet.
Well, see, I already gave it away, so it's probably going to be next week on Raw. God damn it.
Yeah, Biggie is a singles guy. I think that would I would enjoy that.
And like you could even keep the New Day around with Kofi and Xavier, right? You could keep that around for a little bit, sell a bit more cereal, and then just kind of, you know, everything has a time, everything has a course to run, and I think the New Day have run their course.
Well, they've got the longest reigning.
Yeah,
run.
exactly. There's really nowhere else that you can go, and I think that the titles would benefit Anderson and Gallows. I'd like to see a dominant win. I know we're not going to, but I'd like to see like just they come out, they kick the New Day's ass, take the titles. You know, I'd like to see something like that to really establish them as this actual threat in the division, right?
Yeah. US title match from Raw. Roman Reigns is challenging Rusev. And again, it's similar to the Sasha Banks Charlotte in the sense that they had a very good television match. I mean, this one's even more recent than the Charlotte Sasha Banks match. I think that they're probably going to struggle to be able to top that effort, and I think that it just smacks of the wanting to keep Roman Reigns strong and having won clean before going into the match. I think it suggests that he's probably going to lose here in some convoluted fashion.
Yeah,
but he's always got that win over Rusev in a clean match anyway. So I mean, I'm a big fan of Roman Reigns, and I'm not criticizing for them for doing that at all. But I think that's what seems to be happening here.
I just felt it was weird that you would give away. Well, first of all, I find the booking very, very interesting here, as the Universal title is supposed to be their big new title, right? That's supposed to be the thing that people are going to fight for and aspire to if you're on the Raw roster, right? That's supposed to be the main title. But you put the United States Championship feud in the main event right before your pay-per-view. So to me, that tells me that the Universal title is an afterthought and your main focus is the US title.
Yeah, I think there's something to that, and I think that this has definitely been a more compelling rivalry. I think that than the
by leaps and bounds, it's more interesting. Yeah, I completely agree. Like I mean, we'll get into it later when we talk about the Universal title, but I just thought it was really weird how they basically gave away the match on TV a week before the pay-per-view. Like, can Rusev only defend one thing at a time? Like on Monday it was the honor of Lana, and then on Sunday he'll defend like the belt. Like, I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand why you would give away a pay-per-view match a week before it happens. Like, you're going to get some crowd fatigue.
Yeah, without doubt, and a 6-hour show as well, giving the people a match that they've seen the week before.
Well, it's like I said in my reactions this week, like, I would have enjoyed the Roman Reigns versus Rusev match significantly more. Let's say if it was at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock, right? When I hadn't had to sit through 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 45 minutes of honestly not very good wrestling show. So you got the fatigue of the 6-hour show on top of the fact that we just saw the match the week before, and they're not helping them out. You know, I mean, people don't want to get behind Reigns. Rusev is clearly doing a good job at being a heel. So who's your good guy here? Who are the people going to cheer for? I feel like they shot themselves in the foot here with this match.
Yeah, I could definitely see a situation in which Rusev's cheered if he were to win.
Yeah, and that's not what people like. I don't know. Like, they've had so many. Like, we fantasy booked Reigns turning at least 3 or 4 times on the show here. Like, and they just refuse to do anything about it. Like, they're just, nope, you're going to cheer him one day, whether you like it or not. Because that really worked with John Cena. People never boo John Cena anymore.
Well, if
Fuck.
people have come round to him a bit, but he does get 50-50 a lot of the time.
That's what I'm saying. But if like, if they would have turned him when the people wanted him to turn, then because the thing is I feel like I've said this before, but like with The Rock, if they never would have turned The Rock heel, would he have had the same career that he did? Who
Well, yeah.
knows? I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a really curious, like, I think it just speaks to McMahon's ego. Like, he wanted to be right about this, and God damn it, I'm going to be right no matter what. But the,
Yeah.
the people aren't buying it. Like, there's enlightened wrestling fans like you and I who realize that Reigns is a really good worker. But, I mean, the people just don't want to get behind them, and you can't force people to get behind someone they don't want to, especially if they know that the company is so behind Reigns, right?
No, and they, with the Daniel Bryan story, as great as the story was, they gave the crowd sort of that. Well, in this, like in their own way, they in the storyline they gave the crowd control, didn't they? Of course, there wasn't really giving the crowd the control because it was part of a story and a part of the narrative that was going on with Daniel Bryan, but they've sort of set a precedent now in which the crowd think that they've got control. I mean, it goes back longer. I mean, with people resisting John Cena, but I feel like it's more amplified now after Daniel Bryan.
And like another issue is that WWE has set a precedent that the people who run your promotion since the Attitude Era have been the bad guys, right? So every time that the company gets behind someone, the fans are going to naturally reject that person. So, like, from booking themselves as the heels for so long, they kind of shot themselves in the foot whenever they want to push someone and let like people know that they're pushing this guy, right?
Yeah,
Because like when the company that's pushing the guy is known as a heel company or whatever, like in storyline, like I don't know. It's really curious why they don't just embrace Reigns as a heel.
yeah, it's you probably hit the nail on the head with the Vince McMahon ego comment. What's the call on this match?
I'm really hoping. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Rusev. I'm gonna hope that they leave the title on Rusev.
Yeah, I'm going Rusev as well. John Cena versus AJ Styles from SmackDown. I feel like this rivalry, it started off incredibly hot. I feel like it's lost a bit of steam over the past couple of weeks. A factor to consider for the outcome in this match is that John Cena is scheduled to be filming the second season of American Grit shortly. And last time he filmed that, he was beaten clean by Del Rio in 7 minutes, and he went away for a couple of months, and the loss didn't do any harm to him whatsoever. He came back. He's still John Cena at the end of the day. He's still going to get the biggest reaction of the night. And I think you've got to factor that into it when it comes to booking this match. I think that John Cena is one of the few guys in this company who it means something when you beat them.
Yeah, I agree.
For AJ Styles to get a victory over him, it should be clean. Whether it is clean or not it's a different issue, but a victory is a victory nonetheless. And it means something for him heading forward, and it raises his profile as, oh shit, it's AJ Styles. He's beaten John Cena. And
Right.
you've got to do something with him off the back of that, and preferably not book him to lose clean twice in a row like Kevin Owens did. But
I don't have any recollection of that happening.
for me, AJ Styles has got to win this match.
Oh, definitely. He definitely has to win it. And I think by beating John Cena and being the heel in this situation, it establishes a big-time heel on SmackDown, which SmackDown desperately needs. Because who's the big heel on SmackDown? Who's the bad guy on SmackDown? There really isn't anybody that stands out to me. AJ Styles could easily fill that position.
I mean, I guess you could argue Bray Wyatt, but for me, Bray Wyatt's been I can't take him seriously.
No, I don't take Bray Wyatt seriously at all. Like, I like Bray Wyatt. I like his character. I like the idea behind Bray Wyatt. But I mean, he's just been fucked around with so much. It's like Ziggler. Like, how are you going to take Ziggler seriously? You know, like, bah. I hate what they did with Bray Wyatt because he's over with the fans. I mean, people don't just like taking out their cell phones for nothing. You know, like.
So you've got AJ Styles for this?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just the way that SmackDown ended too, it would make sense. You know, historically, whoever kind of gets the upper hand on the show before kind of usually loses at the pay-per-view. So I think AJ Styles needs the win more than John Cena.
Oh, without a doubt.
Pretty much goes without saying, really.
Yeah. WWE title match on SmackDown. Dolph Ziggler, the challenger, against Dean Ambrose. And I mean, we've given Dean Ambrose a hard time on this podcast. I've enjoyed him. I don't necessarily enjoy his matches, but I think his character is progressed to a sort of a douchebag. I know I'm the best. I'll fight anyone. Type of deal.
I believe Dean Ambrose
goofy, cracking joke all the time.
Exactly. I believe a douchebag Dean Ambrose more than I believe a goofy, kind of happy-go-lucky dumbass. I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, and I hate that it's going to be recorded so that people can go back. But I'm actually kind of getting into Dean Ambrose. If he continues with this kind of, as a professional line straddler myself, he's straddling that line right now, and I can appreciate that. And I kind of like I like dickhead Dean Ambrose. I'm gonna say it here, and I'm dying inside a little bit from saying that, but I've been enjoying Dean Ambrose on the mic recently.
Yeah, of course. I really enjoyed that he's been telling Dolph exactly how it is. Dolph's been coming out with these, the company didn't want to get behind me, all this bullshit. Yeah. And Dean's been like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Makes no difference whatsoever. I'm the champion. It's your own fault.
Yeah. Your own fault. You should have just been better, Dolph.
Yeah, I think his character has made a lot more sense. And
to be perfectly honest with you, when this whole feud started, I couldn't possibly care less.
No, I think, yeah.
I was so like, I don't care. Fuck both these guys. I really don't care where this is going. And as the weeks have progressed, it's almost like the Finn Balor and Seth Rollins feud has swapped with the Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler feud, whereas I'm interested in the Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose feud, and I really, not that I couldn't care less, but the build to the Rollins and Balor match has just been like, there's no reason to care.
No,
like that's my opinion on that.
Back to this one for a moment longer. I think that they've done. I wouldn't say that they've redeemed Dolph Ziggler yet, but I think they've gone some way of redeeming him. I think that the progression of the story from here would be Dolph to lose clean here, and then realize that what I've got to be a dick.
And then he joins Darren Young to be great again with Bob Backlund. I love where you're going with this, Elliot.
But
I agree with what you're saying.
He loses here. Dean Ambrose wins. I think Dean Ambrose is doing a good job as the champion on SmackDown at the moment. And I mean, it'll be an interesting match in terms of ring work because, I mean, for me, Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose are far from my favourites in terms of matches that they put out.
Yeah.
But they're going to be fine. They're going to be given a chance for it to be a good match. So we'll see how they go.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see how things play out again. See if they can step up to the main event level.
Yeah. It's certainly been presented so far as the sort of the biggest title across both brands. WWE Universal title match. The Universal title will make its debut, and the winner of Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor will become the first ever Universal champion of Raw.
I'm honestly
I,
looking forward to seeing what the belt looks like more than actual match itself.
I think
That's
they're gonna have a good. They'll have at least a good match.
Oh yeah, I'm not doubting that they're going to have a good match. It's just the build and to the reasons for me to care just isn't there. Plus, I'm not the biggest Finn Balor fan, which really upset a lot of people on Twitter.
I'm not the biggest Seth Rollins fan at the moment. You know, I think I think it's pretty obvious that they dropped the ball on him when he returned. It's no
Yeah,
secret.
big time, big
And
time.
he came back after an extended absence due to injury, and he was the hottest star in the company. And then they decided that they wanted to have him remain this whiny, weaselly prick that moans all the time. And it's just, this.
It's just so many missed opportunities.
Same,
So
it's the
close
same
together.
promo week in, week out. It's Triple H. He is
Yep.
Triple H, but he's not as good as Triple H. And
I don't know about that because I never thought Triple H was that great of a worker. He's a good worker.
no, I mean, I'm not talking about worker, but I mean,
Okay.
send Triple H to talk for 15 minutes. It's going to be a lot
Oh,
more
right.
than sending Rollins out to talk for 15 minutes.
Yeah, okay, that I agree with.
Do you know the Demon King? That was said 43 times during Raw.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I had no idea. And every time he said it, it sounded like Demon Kane.
Yeah, it did. What do you make of what's going to transpire here?
I think it's going to be a good match. Both guys are pretty good in the ring. I think Rollins is going to win it. I think Rollins is their guy, and I think it's too soon for Balor. I think it's way too soon for Balor to be like the champion of the brand.
For me, I think that as the demon character, if you bring him up and you have him lose as the demon in his first match, it kills
Yeah, that's true.
kills him dead in the water.
That's true.
He's lost in his first match. What's the point in him ever painting himself up ever again?
That's an excellent point. Yeah, I didn't even think of that, to be honest with you. That's a really good point. I guess, yeah, to establish that demon character as a real threat and something that you don't want to mess with, I guess you have to have Balor go over here.
Yeah, it's...
Oof, they booked themselves into one hell of a corner here.
I think a loss doesn't harm Rollins at all here. I think that I think a loss would harm the Demon King.
God, I hate that. Like, he wasn't a Demon Prince in NXT, so what happened? Like, why can't they just call him the Demon? Like,
they've got to put it on a t-shirt.
There you go. The almighty dollar.
They've got to get more merch. There's actually a really terrible, oh god, it's so bad t-shirt for advertising this match. It was it had Demon King,
right?
Obviously, and then Finn Balor in a smaller font underneath, and it had The Man, and then Seth Rollins.
Wow. Are you serious? I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I tweeted about it, and I think it's probably top 5 worst things I've ever seen.
Is it worse than that new Golden Truth t-shirt?
I don't mind so much. That's a bit of a banter t-shirt, but this is a serious t-shirt, and
right.
Yeah. I've got Finn Balor. Who are you going with?
Originally, I was going to say Rollins, but yeah, I think Balor because he needs it more than Rollins.
What I think is going to be the main event. That's why we're going to discuss it last. Do you think this is going to be the main event?
Yeah, probably because it's like Raw is obviously their main focus. Wait. I don't know.
Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar. Yeah. I'm talking about. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think they seem to be pushing Orton and Lesnar more than anything else. So yeah, I think it'll be. Jesus, it's hard to put the place. Like, I think maybe they'll start the pay-per-view with the WWE Championship match, just like they used to do with the World Heavyweight title. And then they'll have I think they're going to put Lesnar Orton last.
Yeah, I think that they'll probably frame it as a battle for brand supremacy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
And I think
true.
it makes sense to do that last as opposed to favouring I don't know, because if they're stuck Balor versus Rollins, last people would be thinking, oh, well, they clearly think Raw is the biggest brand. Or
Yeah.
alternately, if they did SmackDown, people would be saying the same thing about SmackDown. And I think that considering this is one of the last, well, we're not going to be seeing a inter-brand feud at least until Survivor Series, you would presume. I think with the guys who are in the match, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll probably put Lesnar Orton last, which would make sense.
Yeah,
That way, neither brand is superior to the other in terms of booking.
yeah, and then you get the battle for supremacy, and then you can draw that out, can't you, to Survivor Series? And
It'd be great, like if like the GMs and like Steph and Shane came out, and then at the end, like if Brock Lesnar won, he just F5 the shit out of Stephanie. Like fuck your brand. I don't care about nothing.
oh god,
I'd pay good money for that. I'd pay my $9.99 for that.
yeah. What do you make of the build for this? Because I mean, the UFC style build with Brock is customary now due to his schedule. I think Lesnar and Heyman have obviously been doing their usual stick. They've got the good, the video package I thought was excellent.
Yeah.
But I think importantly for this, I feel like Randy Orton's been rejuvenated, and I feel like it's the best Randy Orton we've seen for quite a number of years now.
Well, he seems like he's really into it, and he's gotten he had a couple of really good lines against Lesnar, like no enhancements here or no enhancements needed or whatever. So whenever you kind of dip into reality, and this was a very real situation with Lesnar, it just kind of, I didn't think, I'm not a Randy Orton fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm actually really looking forward to this match just to see how it plays out. Like, it's pretty obvious who's going to win here, but I mean, it's still it's going to be fun to see the way it plays out. And the only thing I don't like that came out of this is Viperville. I wish they would stop saying that.
Mauro, stop it, Mauro.
Because it's really not menacing. Like, anytime you say Ville, like, Ville isn't a menacing word.
idyllic, country living.
Yeah, exactly. It's so calm and serene. You don't have to lock your doors at night. But yeah, like it's just a nursery rhyme to me. But that being said, I do like the Randy Orton that we're seeing. In this feud.
I hope we don't get the reductive suplex city match that we've come to associate with Lesnar.
Yeah.
I think another people that people would be considering heading into this match is obviously Lesnar failed the USADA testing, and people may be expecting some sort of punishment from WWE, but that would be an incredibly counterproductive and reactionary move to have.
Well, what makes me laugh is like, okay, you want him suspended? Fine. He's not going to be anywhere near the product for at least 30 days after SummerSlam, so who cares? Suspend him. He won't be there anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fine. But it would be counterproductive to have somebody like a Randy Orton beat Lesnar because, I mean, you want to be giving that rub to a guy who's up and coming, who doesn't necessarily have the same name as Randy Orton already does. Like, losing to Lesnar doesn't do anything for Orton, and I would think probably beating him, I mean, you'd get a bit of buzz after it, but I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be like, oh, fuck, it's Randy Orton now.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, the guy's already a, 12-time champion?
And he's already super over as well. He's one of the most over guys on SmackDown.
Yeah, he'll recover just fine. I mean, it's not like Brock Lesnar is some nameless guy that if you lose to, your career's over, right? So, no, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine, yeah. Both going Brock Lesnar here. And yeah, that's it. That is it. It's over.
Take that, Google Hangouts. You can't censor these hot takes.
Don't offend it.
Oh, yeah, we're not quite done yet.
Not quite done yet. Eric, where can people find you on Twitter? And where can they find you, more importantly, on YouTube?
You can find me on Twitter at MTLBroski, and you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/firstthinginthemorningshow. Quick plug, I started doing these things called the greatest wrestling matches of all time, or something like that, where I take a look at some of the quote-unquote best wrestling matches on the planet and make fun of them, because that's what I'm good at. So check that out. I've gotten some pretty good responses so far from that. They're really fun to do, so the more people watch. And if you want me to look at some matches, feel free to send them to me once again at MTOBroski.
That's great. Nice. You're a consummate professional when it comes to self-promotion.
If there's one thing I like, Elliot, it's talking about myself.
You can find me at Specific Luchador on Twitter. You can also find Kayfabe Today at Kayfabe Today on Twitter. The website is www.kayfabetoday.com. This podcast is hosted by the fantastic website that has Eric Line.
All kinds of top quality genre podcasts.
And yeah, you can find that at www.voxpopulist.com. You can...
And I don't know what Ben's email is, but if I did, I would give it out on the air. But you can follow him at YQuai, my brand manager. I don't do anything on my YouTube channel without the Big Daddy Ben's approval.
Yeah, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, and hurry up and get married, Ben, so we can turn this back into a three-man show. Get married already.
I'm sure she's pressuring for that one a while ago.
I really want him to get married so that Bema can be born. Somebody posted that on Twitter. I think it was one of the Rock Bottom Radio guys, and I got a huge kick out of that. So, well, Bema for life.
Wow.
I love you, Ben.
Everyone enjoy your SummerSlam weekend, guys. Speak to you soon.
Bye, Elliot.
Bye-bye.